Okay, hi everybody. It is Wendy Cherry. We are back on day 2. We had a double header this week. We are live in the sanctuary. So as you know, I like to share on all of my pages. So if you just give me a second, I will share on my page and then I'm going to introduce my guest. I have a special guest on with me today. And we got some good information for you, especially for the women. So let me do that. And Erica, if you go on my page, you should be able to see where it says that we're live. And then you can share it on your page too. So, today it's July. It is Fibroid Awareness Month, which I had no idea. And it's crazy that I didn't have any idea, but here we are. We're getting educated today. Okay, so it's posted here. So I'll be kind of like managing it from my phone and then kind of managing it from, hey Jay, hey Latanda, thanks for joining. So again, take 2, everybody, we in, hey Rhonda. So we are here on the Sanctuary Radio Show. This is summer school. I have been doing summer school all since June. We're basically learning lots of cool things and ways to help us survive all the craziness that's going on. But this is a very special episode in that we're talking about an epidemic that's happening in the United States. And my guest is my soror, and her name is Erica Taylor Davis, and she is here to talk about her new movie, her new documentary that she's creating to talk about the epidemic of fibroids and endometriosis, especially as it relates to Black women. Yes. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Wendy. It really is an honor to be here. It's an honor to talk about this subject that I'm so passionate about, and I truly appreciate your enthusiasm for it as well. In a way, I almost wish we didn't have to talk.
I know, I was just about to say that.
But since we're here, let's get into it and let's try to help some women along the way, right?
Yes. So again, she's so right. Like we don't really want to be having to talk about this situation, but here we are. So Erica, so I met Erica from my angel soror. Her name is Epidemic. Yes. McPherson, and that's how we met. But as soon as she introduced me to Erica and Rhonda, who's joining us too, they were just friendly and they were just very welcoming. And so on a few occasions when I would go to LA for work, Erica would let me stay overnight at her house so that I could be close to the airport to go home. So this is like 5-6 years ago. But one day we were just having a conversation and she was telling me about this episode that she had with her fibroids, and she called it a bloodbath. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of it, but it was something that I had been experiencing my whole life. And so I have been using that term ever since then about, my experiences with fibroids. I was diagnosed with fibroids in 1996. I was on a cruise ship. I used to work on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. And I just fell to the floor one day in pain. I had no idea what it was. So I went to the ship's doctor, and the ship's doctor said, there's nothing we can do on the ship. You need to go to a port, one of the ports, to get checked out. So I went to the Cayman Islands, and the Caymanians were so sweet and so nice. And they gave me this ultrasound, and they said, so matter of factly, oh, you have fibroids and cysts. Like it wasn't nothing. I didn't even know what they were talking about. Fibroids and cysts. So I said, so how did I get them? They said, we don't know. Talk to your doctor at home. And then the journey began. And so here we are, 1996 through, 2020, where I actually still have experiences with this. So Erica, tell me about your early stages and how this came to you. And then let's talk about why you decided to create Red Alert.
Well, I've been struggling with menstrual issues since I was a teenager. like a lot of Black women. And so at that time, I just thought that that's just what it was supposed to be. So, you know, we're talking about fetal position at 13, 14 years old. And so you just deal with it and you just live with it until things just get so bad that you find yourself in an emergency room, which was my case. So, Wendy, it's just the more I speak with women, the more I realize that this is not just my story. It's a story of so many women, even just like yourself, where this started at a very young age, but we were very uneducated about fibroids and heavy periods at that time. So, you know, fast forward to, you know, adulthood. I'm now in my 30s. And things were getting so bad with me that, like I said, I would have my cycle and I would end up in the emergency room, doubled over, you know, asking the ER doc, you know, what's going on with me? Am I hemorrhaging? Because it gets that bad when you find yourself going through, you know, pads at a ridiculous rate, the heaviest pads that they make, and you're going through them like every 30 minutes. You know, that's enough to scare someone, but it is so many women's truths, you know, now and before. So after so many years of that, I just really got tired of dealing with it. So, you know, you fast forward to, I want to say 2014, 2013, 14, enough trips to the ER. And I had, actually, I'm sorry, let me go back to 2009.
Okay.
I went to the doctor to get fitted for a intrauterine device, basically the birth control device that you put in there. And the doctor was like, you know, some women just cannot wear these and you're one of them. You know, she tried to insert it and I was screaming in excruciating pain and backing up on the table, you know, and I'm like, okay, my friends have this thing. What's wrong with me? Like, what in the world?
Right.
So she's just like, you know, oh, some women just can't wear those, you know, and I just refused to accept that. That was step one to just refusing to accept what the doctor told me at the time.
Okay.
So I got sought out a second opinion, and that particular physician, she was a Black woman, she did a sonogram and she said, well, you have fibroid tumors. And I'm like, what is a fibroid tumor? When someone tells you you have a tumor, you're very much like,
Yeah.
am I gonna die? Like,
Right.
what's about to happen?
Right.
So she said I had about 6 or 7 tumors. A couple of them were in the uterine wall, and which I believe those are called intramural. They're in the uterine wall. And she said she didn't want to fool with them because she said if I ever wanted to have children, that she didn't want to cut the uterine wall because it might weaken it and I may not be able to carry.
Right.
So I continued to have these tumors, and you know, I took the advice of some friends, great meaning friends that said, you know, eat some red meat, you know, to build up your blood because, you know, you're bleeding so much, you have anemia, you know, and so I did that. I drank red wine. Who doesn't want to do that? So I tried to, you know, just kind of wait it out. There was no Mr. Wonderful in my life at the time. So fast forward to 2014, and here I am back in emergency room. Things are crazy. I've been eating so much red meat. I mean, we're talking about going to like the meat on a stick restaurants like once a week or so and just eating whatever. So I sought out the one of those clinical trial places. And this is something that I'll also be covering in the movie. You know, those commercials come on the radio, especially on the Black stations, and they're like, you know, ladies, if you have fibroids, you might want to go do this clinical trial. And I know these were really big at that time. So I went to one of those places, and I was living out in Los Angeles. It was the worst experience I think I've had in my entire life. It was scary. The doctor was this male doctor who didn't look like me. And even the girl in the room looked scared. He started the transvaginal ultrasound and he just goes, honey, did you know? And I'm like, no, what? And he's like, did you know it was so bad? These are his exact words. Like, did you know it's so bad? And I'm like, what do you mean so bad? And he said, he just kept going, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm sitting here like, okay, this is the doctor. I don't think the doctor
You're not supposed to do that, doc.
No, you're not like this doesn't even sound right, you know. And I also want to point out that at the time that I did not have insurance at the time.
Yep.
So, that was one of the options that, was open to me, was this clinical trial. So he said, you should have had a hysterectomy a long time ago. He said, you have so many fibroids, I can't even count.
Right.
And I don't know what this mass is. And I don't know what, I was scared to death at that particular moment. So I left that office. I was terrified. I was in my mid 30s. I went to my car and I just cried. That's all I could do. I just cried. So, I called a friend. She didn't really know what to say. And once I got all the tears out and all the emotion, Wendy, I said, you know what? I'm not accepting this. This is ridiculous. I know, and God knows how badly I want to be a mother, and
Right.
how much I don't want a hysterectomy right now at like 35, 36.
Right.
So I got myself some health insurance, and I went to go see, I found this physician who was also a fertility doctor, another woman. And long story short, she basically said, Erica, I can do this surgery for you. I can remove everything that's not supposed to be there and leave what is, basically.
Okay.
And I said, okay, well, this is amazing. So I had my surgery in March of 2014. Wendy, she took out 22 fibroid tumors.
Wow.
And she took endometriosis off of both of my ovaries. And
Endometriosis. What is endometriosis?
absolutely. Endometriosis is when the lining of the uterus grows outside of the uterus. So it's like a similar tissue that's inside the uterus, but starts to grow outside of the uterus. So it begins to cover things. Endometriosis can spread so far that it could cover some organs if it wants to. Yeah, that's what your more rare, severe cases, but mine had begun to cover both of my ovaries.
Okay.
And one of the things I learned in the past couple of years is that it can also mess with those readings that you have. Like, for instance, if you want to go to the OBGYN and find out what your hormone level is for your ovaries,
Yeah.
i.e. what's the chances of you having a child, then you'll get a reading back. You'll get a certain percentage back. The endometriosis can mess with that number, which I'll tell you about in just a second, because that's exactly what happened to me.
Okay.
So that's what endometriosis is. Endometriosis factually has affected more white women than Black, whereas fibroids definitely affects more Black women. 80% of African-American women by age 50 will be diagnosed with fibroid tumors.
Wow.
And that's just, you can Google that anywhere. I do want to put this out there that I am not a doctor. So, anything that I say is something that's public information.
Yep.
Throughout the course of the film, I will be speaking with physicians and specialists in fibroid developments. So she was able to take out all those horrible things in my 2014 surgery, but I did hemorrhage. And I ended up in intensive care for about 5 days. My blood levels sunk down pretty low. I think it was maybe like a 5 or 6. And I just kept praying throughout the process. My parents were right there sleeping in a small window next to the bed, and didn't leave my side. But I was able to recover from that. And then shortly thereafter, when I had my post-op, she said, listen, your ovaries are working at a 2% right now. And that's a real 2%. That's not was it 2 out of 5? No, that's a real 2% out of 100%. So,
right.
Yeah. So, she's like, you may want to really consider some alternatives right now, freezing eggs, things like that. Wendy, I'm gonna be straight up with you, girl. I worked in entertainment in LA. No one had the money to freeze these eggs.
Right.
People are always like willing to suggest that. But
Right.
but I'm like, is there a money tree growing somewhere that you know about that I don't know?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so that wasn't even an option. And I didn't even have, anyone special in my life at the time. So, I just kind of bit the bullet and said, okay. So, from that moment forward, there were several things that happened in my life. I explored veganism because I had heard, with fibroid tumors, they could come back. Yep. So I said, okay, let me try this. And a friend of mine and I, my friend named Jasmine Leyva, who's also a wonderful filmmaker, she invited me along to make the Invisible Vegan documentary, which is now on Amazon Prime. It's our first movie. Okay. And from there, I introduced my fibroid story publicly for the first time. And in the course of that, I also became vegetarian. So I started that vegetarian lifestyle once I learned that the hormones in meat could very well contribute to the symptoms of fibroid tumors.
Right.
So I want to fast forward just a couple years beyond that, where I had been eating a vegetarian lifestyle for about 2 years. And my doctor says, you know, your levels are a little off. And what I mean a little off, she's saying I need to incorporate some omega-3s in my diet, but her suggestion was for me to eat fish and go back to eating meat. And she's like, well, try a little meat, maybe some organic chicken, something like that.
Okay.
Because you know, if it's organic, we know where it comes from, right?
Right.
So,
It's called marketing.
huh?
That's called marketing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I went back to eating organic meats for about 2 months, and that was in November, I believe, of 2016. I'm sorry, November of 2017. I think by January, I was back in the doctor's office with the same symptoms.
Yeah.
My fibroids had begun to come back.
Yep.
So at that moment, when I found that out, I said to myself, I get it now. And so I immediately stopped with things that were making me vegetarian, because I was still eating eggs. I was still eating goat cheese as well. I cut meat off completely. So, you know, the year rolls by. By that time, I was in a relationship. We had been talking about marriage, things like that.
Yep.
And by 2017, we were also talking about having children. And so we went to the doctor's office and I got an exam and I got my blood test to tell me how things are working now. And she said, there's something I need to tell you. And I'm like, okay, hold on one second. I went and got my then fiance out of the waiting room and I said, okay, whatever it is you got to tell me, tell both of us.
Tell us, right.
She said, you don't need to have a baby now. You need to have a baby right now. Like, as in, if you got your pills on you, hand them to me so I can throw them in the trash. You need to have a baby literally right now.
Okay.
And, you know, it was very startling. And she said that my hormone level or chances for conceiving were at 0.1%.
Oh my.
So they had gone down from 2% in 2014 down to 0.1%.
Right.
So, you
even
know,
after you try the vegan lifestyle or vegetarian lifestyle.
Yeah, even after the vegetarian lifestyle. And I want to be clear because I think what I said earlier, I kind of misspoke a little bit. I was eating vegetarian. I'd gone back to eating meat at the doctor's instruction for a few months. The fibroids came back. Then I got rid of the meat, but I was still doing things like eating eggs, which produce estrogen, goat cheese, which is still, you know, a little bit of dairy.
Yeah.
And so when she told me that was 2017, I was still doing that. We tried for, you know, over a year and a half, nothing worked. You know, it was very disheartening. I had a couple of breakdowns because, you know, motherhood and everything, it feels like it was just slipping away from me, right?
Yeah.
So now we're in 2019. As a New Year's resolution for January 1st, 2019, I decided that I wanted to be 100% vegan.
Okay.
So I went cold turkey, and by March, I was pregnant.
Ah.
So I was, for the first time in my life, I was pregnant, and I was just, I didn't know what to do with myself. And this happened as a result of me going vegan. I know that for sure in my heart, Wendy. But I also found out that I was pregnant because at the time I was having a miscarriage. And I thought it was just a very heavy period, but it was a miscarriage. So we were just kind of in shock, but I wasn't sad. I was like, I got pregnant. They told me I couldn't get pregnant.
Good, right?
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I'm good. So, you know, that happened. It was a very painful period of my life physically, but I was very thankful, and I decided not just to go vegan, but push it even further, and I went soy free.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So throughout the course of the year, you know, I went soy free. I tried to work out. just live a healthier life. I wasn't doing anything extreme. Fast forward to September of 2019, and I got pregnant again.
Ah.
Yep. And so I was excited about that. That pregnancy, not to sound too anticlimactic, but that pregnancy lasted 6 weeks. The reason why the pregnancies were failing was because of the fibroids. The fibroids were inside my uterus this time, and they were basically crowding everything out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, but the beauty of it was that I was able to conceive.
Right.
And I did nothing, for anyone watching, the only thing I did different was change to a 100% vegan and soy-free lifestyle. And I prayed holistically. I did the Mayan massage. I don't know if you ever heard of the Mayan fertility massage.
Oh, what's that?
It's on YouTube. Feel free to look it up. You're literally just massaging your abdomen and pelvic region,
Okay.
and you're breaking up some of that that scar tissue in there, anything that's not supposed to be in there. And it's literally just a 5-minute rub down for yourself before you go to sleep.
Okay.
And I did that both times, right before both times I got pregnant. So so that was literally the only things that I really did differently. So I am a huge believer in what we eat makes a huge difference in how we feel and how our body reacts.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer in prayer and meditation, and just alternative methods to healing. So I'm very much, in favor of all of that.
Right.
So that's my reasons for doing Red Alert. Red Alert, The Fight Against Fibroids, is a documentary that is going to focus on stories like mine. Women who've gone through all these challenges for so many years, who don't know who to listen to, the doctor, their body, their family. Who do you listen to when your body starts reacting like this and you're doubled over in pain once a month for a week or two, you know? So this film is for them. It's something that I committed to after that first miscarriage, and I'm gonna see it through until it's done.
Yes. Well, let me just jump in there and unpack some of this stuff with you. So, like I shared in the beginning, Erica is one of my sorority sisters, and we were both in entertainment. So we would be in LA, and we did BET, and then we did Grammy stuff, and so we were hanging out. But on occasion, she lived near the airport, and so I would go hang out with her and stay with her so I could go to the airport early in the morning, and we would have these discussions because we were both dealing with them. I'm a little bit older, and I already have a daughter, but I feel like my symptoms exacerbated after my daughter. So the very first period, 12 years old, that first day, I was on the floor, first day. I've never had a reasonable period, never. From 12, I was like, what in the hell is going on, right? So time goes on. I had, like you're talking about surgeries, I've had 3. I have changed my diet. I have had massage. I have gone to Kemet and been in the ancient pyramids trying to get some energy. I have gone to the womb sauna with my girl Tama Aziz Sarawat. I have done every single thing. I've done colon hydrotherapy. I have done infrared sauna. I have done acupuncture, acupressure. I have done moxa sticks, which is basically Chinese medicine. I have gone to the herbalist. I have been to an energy doctor. I have been to an integrative doctor. And so my integrative doctor, holistic, naturopathic MD, who's an African woman, she said she's been, and I did all her protocols. And like you want to feel better. So I'm like to the letter. I'm very stickler, right? And she said she started studying medicine in 1970. And she has never, ever seen anybody not be better, even a little bit, from all the protocols. She's never seen it before. I am like this case study that she's never seen. So the fibroids grow back for many people. So everybody's body is different, and depending on how you were born and how you gestated in your mother's womb will also have a lot to do with if you get fibroids or not and what the severity is. So I too did a study. I attempted to do a study. I went to GW Hospital right here in Washington, DC, and this was in 2010. I go in, I'm number 2. I heard it on the radio, WHUR, right? I'm on day number 2. I go in, I'm like, oh, finally, somebody's gonna help me, and then I can help other people. You know, I have a daughter, I have nieces and stuff like that. All I know is I went in, put my legs on the table, and woke up on the floor. That's all I know. It was because the pain was so bad when they were trying to do whatever they were doing. And I had so much scar tissue from the past 3 surgeries that I passed out and fell off the table and was on the floor. I woke up to them yelling my name. So, you know, this is very important. And, you know, a lot of people, a lot of women, they're just really encouraged to just have a hysterectomy. Especially Black women.
Yes.
Our reproductive system is not as valued as some other, you know, populations. So they told me that off the jump, and my own spirit was like, I don't want to do that. Even though I already had a baby, I just didn't want to. And no slight to anybody who has already done that. And if you're getting relief, and for any of you who are getting relief, then type down what you did, put down what you did. But I'm so happy when you said that you were doing this video, like, so I knew that you got married, and, you know, we were at the Grammys at one of those parties, and your husband, your soon to be, was there, and we met him. And so I saw that, and then I know you wanted a baby. And then when you said you were doing the documentary, I just was like, how can I help? You know, how can I participate? How can I help and share this story? Because it is so important. And it even became more important as I see my daughter hemmed up on the floor, going through crazy pads, cramps, throwing up. It's like deja vu. Yes. So, you know, having this platform and getting more exposure to this, because men don't have it, so they don't put any money to it. So when it was erectile dysfunction, they got billions of dollars to do these trials or whatever they were doing. But for a woman's issue, and then even a Black woman issue, you know, where's the research? So I'm grateful that you're doing this, and we're saying that this is going to put a spotlight on it, and that this is going to bring more resources to the research and things like that, you know, so that people can get some help.
Absolutely, Wendy. I mean, it was very alarming to me to find out that there's about as much funding taken towards fibroid research as there is for like the common cold. I think the common cold might get more funding and research. So for me, that it's heartbreaking, you know, to think about that. You know, I think about it on just a moral level. As a Black woman, I feel like there's so many issues with us that get put on the bottom of the totem pole. And I, for one, was tired of it. You know, and so I said, if this is going to affect such a big part of my life, and then I find out how much of other Black women's lives this affects, I said, okay, let me use my talent, my purpose to do something, you know, to figure this out, to help solve this issue, to shed light, to bring awareness. And, you know, in the course of the research that I've been doing, there just really isn't a lot out there. So if you've got, you know, a younger teenage girl or a young woman finding out that they have fibroid tumors, there's not a lot of places they can go to get the information that they need to get some relief. You know, you feel like, you know, you're your mother's child, and you might have to get a hysterectomy before you're able to conceive a child. You know, in my case, you don't even have a boyfriend at the time. So it's like, okay, so what's supposed to happen now? So you're telling me I'm not going to be a mom, basically. And even just setting aside fertility, just your quality of life, you know, on a daily basis is affected. You know, anemia makes you exhausted. You know, your levels are off. You know, you're just irritable. You know, your intimate life is off. You know, you're tired of, you know, going through clothes and sheets and spending half your paycheck on pads, you know, and this is something that is very much a reality for many, many, many Black women. And we just don't talk about it. You know, one of the things that I say on social media, and it's kind of become a slogan for the film, is no more, sis, no more suffering in silence. You know, it's time.
Embarrassing. It can be embarrassing. You walk in anywhere, and then you coming through your clothes, and then, you know, I was on a train in New York one day, and I felt the gush. Like, I felt it.
Yeah.
right when we got to Penn Station. And I was like, I'm going to wait for everybody to get off of this train before I even stand up. And thank God I did. But then, you know, I have to get upstairs. So I went to the bathroom and then I was in the first stall. By the time I pulled my pants down, all over the floor, everybody could see who was standing in line.
That's crazy.
So that's why it's hard to talk about, because it's embarrassing. You know, it can be really embarrassing.
Very embarrassing. And, you know, I remember that happening to me as a kid. I think I was in like maybe the 5th grade and that happened. And, you know, I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to tell the teacher, you know, I didn't want to tell my mother, you
Right.
know, I just tried to like kind of wait it out. And you're in the bathroom trying to rinse out your shorts or, you know, just,
Right.
and people don't talk about these things, like it's been taboo for so long, you know. So, you know, I'm trying to open up the conversation but also to make a difference. So within the course of the film, not only do we have beautiful sisters like you who will be representing and all your entire journey and sharing that with us even more, but I'll also be speaking with women who are advocates in DC,
Okay.
you know, on Capitol Hill, who are advocates for women's health, who want to see change come as well, who want to see more funding go towards the research and the studies. You know, I'm very big advocate of the pink tax and eliminating the pink tax, which is that
tax on pads.
Yes, the tax on pads, you know, all that stuff.
Yep.
I want to shed light on the organizations who've been in existence and already doing something like the Fibroid Foundation or period dot. You know, so there's resources out there, but a lot of women don't know that they're available. So not only am I want to do this in a way that is going to push it in front of people's faces, but I also want to make it something that people watch.
Yeah,
I also
sure.
want to make it, you know, something that's going to be interesting to watch. So there'll be a little bit of an artistic flair in there as well to keep people, you know, keep the story flowing, you know, because this is our culture.
Yeah, you know, you got to kind of like entertain them to
Yes.
get them to understand the message.
Yes.
One of the things that I did want to bring up was as I was doing my own research. So, you know, I went the Western route of having the fibroids removed. But then when that didn't work and they grew back, and right before I think I decided not to get a hysterectomy like a week before I was supposed to get the hysterectomy.
Oh, wow.
And then, you know, like when you start to ask for things, certain people come into your life. So my mentor, who's a soror, Dr. Vicki Johnson, introduced me to a woman named Tema Aziz Serwa. She's here in DC and she has what they call the womb sauna.
Okay.
And as I went to her, she started to explain to me that I did not even know my body. You know, many of us don't know our bodies. And she was explaining to me that a lot of times the womb, it becomes stagnant because of generational trauma. One. Also, your womb is where you're creating. You're either creating a baby or you're creating a business or you're fleshing out an idea. The womb, and people call it the sacral chakra. If you know, those, that's just another energetic way. That's where all your creativity comes from. And so if those things are stagnant, think of just like a river that's flowing and then it gets blocked and then the leaves block it and then the wood comes and the next thing you know, there's little mosquitoes going all around. It becomes stagnant and that's when things grow and form.
Yes.
So that really meant a lot to me because, and it made sense to me and it still makes sense, even though the treatments that I got did not take away the fibroids yet. I still understood from an energetic level, when we say 80% of African-American women, if you think about the trauma that has been passed down from our mothers, our grandmothers who were kidnapped from their country, they lost their language, they lost everything, and then they have to come here and exist in a certain way, and they couldn't talk about it, you just keep your mouth closed.
Yes.
And so, and then they have babies, and then the babies sit in that trauma, and then it's a cycle. And what I know just from my own studying is that trauma can go back 7 generations. So sometimes you can think of, or if you're blessed enough to know your people, you can ask your mom, did she have these? You can ask your grandmother, you can ask, you know, who in your family, especially on the maternal line. On the maternal line is where it gets passed down. Yes. And so I began to do that research, and I was adopted, but I understood where I sat in the womb when I wasn't wanted. That's trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So then I pass that down, then I pass it to my daughter. So there's just things to consider before you go through surgeries and before you just let them rip your plumbing out, because a lot of times, depending on what kind of doctor you go to, that might be the only alternative. And we're in a quiet time now. I think it's going to shut down even more. If you're watching this, this is July, Fibroid Awareness Month. It just so happens to be Fibroid Awareness Month. Is that this is the time to even figure out for yourself if you're having these issues. Maybe look at your maternal line and see what's happening, and see where you don't feel creative, see where you feel stagnant, see where you don't feel your most authentic and happy goddess self. So I just always throw that in, because that's been very powerful for me,
Yes, I'm right there 100% with you. When it came to me changing my diet, Wendy, I had actual physicians tell me that doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
And they are, very adamant about medication and surgery and, all the things that they know about, but only you know your body, only you know what your body can take and cannot take.
Yeah.
So I've become much more vocal about how I treat my body, what I put into my body, and no one's going to do that but you when it comes to taking care of yourself. So, we have always had this habit of being the caregivers of other people, but we always prioritize ourselves at the very bottom of the list. And if you're a woman with fibroid tumors, your body will let you know it's time to sit down, sis.
Yep.
It's time for you to pay attention to you, because you can't run on 100, I'm still at a very critical place right now, where, even just last night, my husband had to help me to the bed. So, I'm still, in the midst of going through it.
Yeah.
And I'm scheduled for surgery in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I will be going through this again for the simple fact that we do want to conceive. But I'm ready. I have much more confidence than I did before. I've been preparing my body for this. I am also at a very peaceful place where, even though I'll be sedated, I'm fine with whatever the outcome will be. And also the difference this go round, is that I have got a bad soror sister doing my surgery.
Okay.
Yes, she specializes in fibroids. I did my research.
Wow.
She looked at my profile, and she's just like, I've had much worse. She's like, she looks at, my age, she looks at what I've been through. And she said, honey, she's like, I have a 47-year-old that she just took more fibroids out of, more, bad tissue and whatnot out of, who is now like 26 weeks pregnant at 47. So, while she can't guarantee those results for everyone, this is what she does, and this is what she specializes in, because it affects all her people, all her friends, and so she has a vested interest in helping Black women. So when you look for a physician, you definitely want to find someone who has a vested interest in helping, not just someone who took the Hippocratic Oath, but someone who knows that we have been through so much and we deserve the lives that we were intended to live physically, so yeah.
Absolutely. Well, everybody who's here, we're going to send good vibrations and prayers for peace, a skillful doctor. We're going to get the fibroids out so we can get that baby in.
Yes.
That's what our prayer is. So my girl Nina is saying she wants to speak to your doctor, or maybe have your doctor give her a referral here in the DMV to talk about that. So Erica's information is at redalertmovie.com, and then her email will be there too. Reach out to her. Because that's the thing, like, we want to share it. We want to spread this information around so that as many people who need help can get help. So what do you need? What do you need from, like, people who will be seeing this to support you as you're creating this documentary? Because you're funding it, you're directing it, you're producing it, you're scouting it, you're doing everything. So what?
Tired.
I know, because we were supposed to do our interview before COVID.
Yes.
COVID shut you down. And then one day, like, every time I get like a little inspiration or whatever, I'll try to text you and be like, Erica, keep going, or whatever, or I got your back, or whatever. And I'd actually ended my radio show, but once I brought it back for summer school, what I'm calling summer school, I'm like, Erica has to be on. I had no idea it was Fibroid Awareness Day till I looked on your website.
Yeah.
So her website is redalertmovie.com. Her Instagram is,
The Instagram is also at Red Alert Movie. The
okay,
Twitter handle is at Fibroid Movie.
okay,
So people can look at any of those. I also have a private group on Facebook for women who do suffer from fibroids and want to talk about it.
okay,
The Red Alert group, Red Alert Movie group on Instagram. So I'm sorry, on Facebook.
okay.
So definitely, you know, I'd love for women to reach out. If all of that stuff is too much, just go to redalertmovie.com and, you know, just sign up at the bottom, you know, and then I'll get you connected with everything else. One of the biggest issues I'm having is just funding. You know, it's an independent documentary. So, you know, we've turned to grants. I've been self-funding. So if someone wants to make a donation or gift,
Yes.
that would be fantastic. You can also figure out how to do that at redalertmovie.com. You know, just press that big old black give button. It goes directly to PayPal. You know, you'll definitely be given special credit. If someone's interested in the executive producer role, I have a space available for that as well, if they want to make a major contribution. This is, I have to say, because I have also been tagging this on some of the posts, Wendy, about Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
This is about Black lives, Black women. This is about Black lives, and we do matter.
Yeah.
This is our story. This is a story of so many women. So all those folks out there hoping to give to the cause and give to the Black community and to give back, this is an excellent way to do that. So, you know, so anyone that's interested, they can email me at Erica@redalertmovie. So it's ERICA@redalertmovie.com. So, you know, just feel free to reach out to me, even if you want to tell me your story. As a Black woman, you've gone through it, or if you have questions, if I can point you in the right direction, I hope to be able to do that as well. But definitely funding is definitely what we're looking at right now. We're looking forward to filming in DC in about a week and coming to see you, Wendy. We're excited about that.
Yeah.
And speaking with some women from the National Women's Health Network and some other advocates out there. So I feel very blessed to be in this position, to be able to help my sisters out any way I can. So thank you to you for also recognizing and allowing me to use your platform to talk about this. And you're also in my prayers with everything that you and both your daughter go through as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So speaking of prayers, Nina, who was my old coworker at the Recording Academy, says, may you move in wellness and wholeness in every area of your health and wellness, in your mind, your body, and your spirit, and it'll be even sweeter as you move forward. So we all gonna accept that.
Yes, I receive it. I receive
yes,
it.
ma'am.
Yeah.
So again, it's Red Alert Movie. Join her Red Alert Movie group on Facebook. Thank you to all the Sorors, Andrea, my girl Titania's here. Of course, Rhonda's here. Fran is here. Troy is here. Andrea, my cousin Jordan, my number Courtney. So everybody's here. Thank you so much. And also a blessing that you can give to us is to share it on your Facebook page, because the more people who understand it and know about it, that will help move it along. It just needs legs. It just needs legs. So just like you say, support Black business, and like she says, Black Lives Matter, just the click, share, sharing it with your networks, and, you know, donating definitely is just another way to keep it going, so that she can realize her creative with her actual baby that she's going to be holding in her hand. And then we're going to be at the premiere, wherever it's going to be.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
very
Claim
excited
it.
about
Claim
it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Thank you again, Soror. Good luck to you. Good luck with the surgery. I can't wait to see you. And thank you again, everybody. So again, you're in the Sanctuary. This is the Sanctuary Radio Show. This was like the summer school special edition. Next week, we do them every Wednesday, but I have special. So Erica was special. So we came here today, which is Thursday, but next Wednesday, we're going to talk about them damn Karens. We're going to talk about with Rissikat Okadei from Little So-So Productions and Evelyn Bando from Mystic Genius. And we're going to just be like sitting, having a girls chat, but we're also going to be talking about them Karens. And I've titled it From Miss Ann to Karen, the evolution of the violence of white women. because they have been doing this violence thing for many, many years. And so we're going to talk about that, but more important than centering them, we're going to talk about how we can tap into our own spirit, into our own divinity, and into our own healing, into our own goddess, like authentic and healthy and healed and no fibroids and no none of that stuff. That's what we're going to be talking about. And Rissicat and Evelyn have a very unique way of sharing how to do that because they taught me. So I love it. We will see you next Wednesday. Please share redalertmovie.com. And again, thank you, Erica, and I will see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Wendy.
Peace.